Hi, Jim Willis, the Camo Cook here. I was just on a podcast interview the other day with Carrie Zilka from the Hunt Fish Travel podcast, and we were talking about our salmon fishing trip that we took earlier this fall. We started getting into talking about food, and I brought up one of my favorite recipes to use with my leftover salmon. What I got here is I got a piece of smoked salmon left over. I caught that salmon when we were out on our trip. I smoked it up for a little cookout that I had here last weekend, so I got some extras I need to use up. So I'm going to show you this quick and easy recipe to help use up some of your leftover smoked salmon if you got any laying around, or if you just want to buy some smoked salmon for this. It's an awesome recipe. So what we're going to be doing today is a smoked salmon and goat cheese quiche. Yes, I know. Real men don't eat quiche. I like quiche. I consider myself a real man. But anyway, so what we're going to start off first here is I got some red bell peppers. Now I'm going to core these peppers. I'm going to take out this little membrane here. In a lot of peppers, this is where the heat actually sits. Bell peppers, you don't really have to worry about heat, but I'm not a big fan of the flavor on those membranes anyway. So I'm going to put those into my sheet pan here. Take out the membrane. No, you don't have to take out this membrane. You don't have to go through all that extra work, but I like to. It's the little things. Alright, so I'm going to turn them, if you see, so they're all skin side down there. Give them a nice coating in oil. You can really use any oil, extra virgin olive oil, whatever you want to use. Me, I just happen to have cooking spray handy, so you just need some oil on there to get the salt and pepper to stick. I always carry a mixture of salt and pepper. I'm going to sprinkle it all over the outside there. And I'm going to pop this in my oven. I got it preheated for 400 degrees. Cooking time is going to vary a little bit, but you want a little bit of caramelization on the skins. You want it to start where the outside skin is starting to get crisp and black. Pop it in the oven, and then we'll move on to our next step here. Alright, and I got a Vidalia onion, a sweet onion. I like to use sweet onions for my caramelized onions. I think it has a little bit better flavor to it, a little bit more sweetness to it, so to speak. So what I'm going to do here is just julienne this onion. So, I've got a julienne onion, and what I'm going to do is caramelize them. So I've got a saute pan here. And give myself a little oil. You don't have to get too much oil on it or anything like that. Onions in there. Little salt and pepper. I'm just going to keep these in my saute pan, break them up here, and what you want to do is get them starting to cook, and then you want to turn down the heat and give them a mix every so often. You're trying to caramelize them, but you're not trying to burn them. You don't want black, you don't want a sear on them. You want to just bring them up and cook them slowly till they're starting to turn nice and golden brown. Just remember to keep stirring. Alright, so I got my onions sauteing in the pan here. You want to start it out on a medium high or even a high heat just to get them rolling. Alright, when you get it starting to really cook up and you see these little brown bits starting to form on your onions, what you want to do is just turn it down to a lower heat Like I said, you don't want to burn these onions. You just want to caramelize them. So you want to get them to start turning brown. You want to get them to that nice chocolate color without actually burning. So this is probably going to take another 10-15 minutes here to get them all nice and cooked down good. The longer and slower you cook it, the sweeter your onions are going to be. Now if your onions start getting a little bit dry and stick in the pan a little bit, you can put just a few drops of water in there. And that'll kind of help it to deglaze, to unstick, and to get all that, what is called fond, off the bottom of the pan and mix it in with the onions. Lots of flavor that gets left in the pan every time you cook. Okay, so we're starting to get that good brown color, that good caramelization on the onions. You see how it's starting to turn brown. No black spots on it or anything like that. Not burning, keeping that medium heat. Just to make sure you don't scorch the onions. I'm going to top off a little bit more water here, just kind of release some of that fond. Let that water cook off there. And I'm just going to take a bowl here. And I'm going to put these onions off to the side, just to let it cool down a bit. You don't really need hot onions. You can take these, cook them off, and just set them off to the side for a while as you prepare the rest of your stuff. Alright, I'm going to go through here. I'm going to give my red peppers a check out here. Oh yeah, they're looking good. So what we got, I'll show you what I'm looking at here. If you look at these peppers, you see how the skins are starting to turn black there. That's what you want to look for. You can go a little farther, you can get a little blacker, it doesn't really matter too much. The skins is the only thing that'll turn black. It's not the insides or anything, as long as you don't burn it. So what I'm going to do here with this is I'm going to take these off of my sheet pan here. I'm just using this little bowl here. Want to take them out. You want to let them cool off. I try not to stack it. I try and, land flat in a bowl. It's kind of hard. So I'm going to stick that off to the side. Actually, I'm going to put that in the refrigerator here. And I'm just going to let that cool down for a few minutes. One, it makes it a little easier to handle, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go through and I'm going to peel all those red peppers, all that skin that's still left on it. After baking it, it peels off really easily. So I'm going to give that a couple minutes to cool down, and we'll get the peppers all done up. Okay, I got my peppers just cooled down for about 10 minutes or so, and now they're cool enough to handle. They're still warm, but they're cool enough for me to handle at least. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these peppers and I'm going to skin them. I'm going to take through and pull all the skins. After roasting, you'll see it's all wrinkly and crinkly and actually pulled away from the inside of the pepper. It makes it really easy to peel. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just pulling all of this skin off of there, just to kind of reveal the nice pepper flesh that's underneath it. You don't have to worry about getting all the skins off it. You don't have to worry about being perfect with it or anything like that. Just go through and pull off what you can. Some pieces are going to stick to it, some pieces aren't. It's okay. This is kind of why you want to wait until it cools down for you, because trying to do this fresh out of the oven, you can do it, but you need what I call a chef's hands for that. Hands that can really withstand the heat, because these things are going to be hot when they come out of the oven. In restaurants, I do it all the time coming right out of the oven, simply for time, but also I'm used to it. Okay, now that I got most of the skins off there, I'm going to want to julienne slice these. So I'm going to lay them flat down on my cutting board. And just make thin slices. Now, one tip for cutting your vegetables and everything that you're putting in the quiche, same thing with soups, is try and make everything approximately the same size. So that way you get nice, even coating, even vegetables in your dishes. You're not biting into a huge piece of something and then a small piece of something. So cut everything to one size and kind of stick to it. All right, now that we got all of our filling ingredients prepared, we're gonna get to work on the rest of the filling, the egg mixture. So what I got here is I got a half a dozen eggs, 6 eggs. Some recipes call for 5. 6 kind of produces a little bit denser of a quiche. I like to use 6. So I'm just gonna crack my eggs into my mixing bowl here. All right, I got my 6 eggs and 1 cup of whole milk, or you can use heavy cream. I prefer heavy cream, but unfortunately I forgot to stop at the store today, so but I got plenty of whole milk. Whole milk will work just fine. The difference being that the heavy cream I think makes a little bit richer of a quiche, so the whole milk is kind of lighter. And go through, get that all mixed up. Add some salt and pepper. I always want to season eggs. So, salt and pepper. You want that good mixed up. You don't want no pieces of yolk in there or anything like that. Mix it thoroughly. Alright, I'm going to set that off to the side for right now. And I get my my pie crust. This is you can make your own, obviously. This one is a store-bought one. It's a raw pie crust, so I power cooked it just a little bit, just to make sure I don't get any raw gooey crust. It's going to come out nice and flaky. So, what you're going to want to do first is put your toppings in the pan. So I'll show you what my toppings for this particular quiche will be. Well, first of all, you got your roasted red peppers, caramelized onions. I got my leftover hunk of smoked salmon, goat cheese, and a little spinach. So, what you want is right around a cup of the toppings per quiche. You don't want to overload it, because then it's not going to cook right. You're going to get a lot of liquids in it from the vegetables and stuff like that, and you want enough egg to hold her together. So I got my 9-inch pie crust. I'm going to actually put a little bit of the egg mixture into the bottom. Preheat your oven, by the way, for 375. Oops. All right, I got a little bit of the egg mixture in there. I'm gonna throw some of these awesome roasted red peppers into it. Some of these caramelized onions. Like I said, you don't want to overload it. For a quiche, you want about a cup of toppings. So keep your toppings. Make sure you don't put too much of one thing in there, because then you're going to run out of room. So, I got my smoked salmon. I'm just going to take that and kind of, oops, not drop big pieces, flake it up. Alright, you don't want any big pieces of salmon floating around in there, because you want just every bite of the quiche, you want to taste each ingredient, is kind of what I say. If you got one spot that's, you know, all salmon, or one spot that's just nothing but a couple of big onions, you're not going to be very happy with your quiche. So, got a little bit of smoked salmon in there. Clean my hands. got our baby spinach. Now, spinach, when it cooks, really cooks down quite a ways. So there's not, even though it looks like I'm kind of piling it up, it's not bad. But you don't want too much, but you just don't want to pile too much because it does get kind of watery. So I've got my spinach, salmon, caramelized onions, roasted red peppers, and then I'm going to put some goat cheese into it. Goat cheese, I know a lot of people might be kind of weirded out by the goat cheese. Some people don't like that whole, the barnyard scent I've heard so many times, but goat cheese pairs extremely well with salmon, with smoked salmon. Well, salmon in general, but especially smoked salmon. So, I'm going to sprinkle some of this goat cheese in here. Then I'm going to top it off with the rest of my egg mixture. You don't want to fill it up all the way. You want to make sure you got a good edge to the crust there. Make sure you don't spill any. And I'm going to kind of tap these down into it a little bit. And I'm just going to throw a couple of my toppings for color up on top, because you really can't see the stuff that's down below. So I'm going to put a couple onions, a couple of peppers, a few flakes of the salmon, just to make sure you can see all those ingredients, and color looks really good. And then I got my oven preset to 375. I find using a sheet pan for this is rather helpful because you don't want to spill the eggs on the inside of your oven. So, slide her into there. Now I'm just going to let that bake for about a half an hour or so. All ovens vary. What I do is I'm going to look at it every 25 minutes or so and check it out. What I want to see is the top just starting to brown. You don't want to get it browned, you want to see it just starting to brown. When that's done, your quiche should be done. So we're going to check back on it a little bit, and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, so it's been about 35 minutes, give or take a few minutes, and it should be pretty much done. It's just starting to brown up, so check this out. I'll take it out of the oven here. Looks like it's done just perfectly. So what I'm looking for, if you can see it, if it makes it out on camera here, is it's just starting to brown up around the edges. You don't want to get a solid brown over it. You want to just get it to where it's just starting to brown up like that. Look at all that color, all those toppings on top. So then you're going to want to wait, let it sit on top of your stove for about 5-10 minutes. Just let it cool, let it set, let it it's going to be almost souffle. It's going to rise up a little bit, but then when you pull it out of the oven and it starts cooling, it's going to slowly kind of drop and level out. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to just cool down, and then we'll come back, cut her up, and show you what it looks like. Okay, I've waited for about 5 minutes or so. It's relaxed, it's dropped down. Let me show it to you here. Alright, so as you can see, it's not sitting up near as high anymore. It's relaxed, it's fallen down. Now you can go ahead and cut it. You want to wait for that, that way it makes it so much easier to cut and serve, and it looks so much better. So you're going to cut it like you would a regular pie. For a quiche, I'll normally cut this into 6 pieces instead of like your 8 for your pies. So cut it once like that. And you kind of want to be careful with it so you don't muck it up, because it is hot. my smoked salmon, roasted red pepper and spinach quiche. It's a simple recipe, really. Doesn't really take all that long to do. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Good thing about the quiche is you can take it, you can have your piece if you're just by yourself, wrap it up, put it in the fridge. If you take it back out the next day, easy reheating instructions. Just put the piece onto a sheet pan, put it in your oven, bake it at 350 just to warm, and it'll actually hold for 4 or 5 days on it, no problem. So I'm gonna enjoy this piece of quiche. Hopefully you enjoyed the recipe. Make sure you hear the story on this salmon over at huntfishtravel.com. We had a good time. Thanks, Carrie, for having me on again. And here's to it.